live look at Capitol Hill in Washington this hour. The longest government shutdown in American history has finally ended after a record-setting 43 days.
On this vote, the yeas are 222, the nays are 209. The bill is passed.
On Wednesday, the House of Representatives approved the funding bill that would allow the government to reopen. Hours later, President Trump signed the legislation into law, but the strike's impact will linger. It will take time for airports to return to normal operations. The deal will also allow funding to resume for 42 million Americans who receive food assistance. But another showdown could be looming, as this agreement only funds the government through January 30th. All right, lots to discuss with CTV's political analyst Eric Ham. Eric, good morning to you. So how long will it take for things to return to normal now that the shutdown is officially ended?
Well, we do know that now that the shutdown is ended, President Trump has signed this legislation into law. Many of those government workers who have gone without a paycheck for 6 weeks will now begin to get back pay. But for those who are still traveling, there's going to continue to be lingering chaos, as we know that the shutdown has had a tremendous impact on air traffic controllers. In fact, we know today airlines have been either delayed or canceled at 8%. Tomorrow is still expected to be at least 10%. Things should be getting back to normal in the coming days when more and more workers begin to show up for work and paychecks go out. But nevertheless, because this is only a partial funding of the government, we could be back here in a matter of weeks.
Yeah, by the end of January. What's the likelihood of that? What needs to be done in the meantime to avoid a repeat of this?
Well, the problem is there are a total of 12 spending bills, and the government has only funded 3: agriculture, military construction, and legislative services. So all of these other issues still have to be addressed, which means Democrats, if they are actually in the market or have the stomach for another potential shutdown, we could see this again. However, based on what we saw from these 8 moderate Democrats, at least in the Senate, I don't think that will happen again. But nevertheless, what we're going to continue to see is at least House Democrats and some Senate Democrats continue to at least try to push and cajole Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to stand firm. And again, the biggest issue still weighing heavily is what happens with those subsidies on health care. We know that Senate Majority Leader John Thune has agreed to a vote on these subsidies in December. Now, that's not expected to pass at all in the Senate, and it's unclear even at this time if the House even takes it up. But amid all of this, Marcia, what we're seeing right now is this dark cloud of Jeffrey Epstein is looming larger and larger.
Yeah, we need to talk about that, Eric. So Donald Trump is under a lot of pressure. What can the president do to stop the release of the Epstein documents? What are you seeing and hearing that is happening with Republicans, many of whom support the release of the Epstein files?
Well, even as we know, yesterday, as this bill was beginning to come to the floor and expected to pass, Donald Trump was already implementing a pressure campaign on key Republicans. He spoke directly to Republican Congresswomen Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, and Lauren Boebert. In fact, we're learning that Congresswoman Lauren Boebert was actually in the White House in the Situation Room with President Trump, his Attorney General Pam Bondi, her deputy Attorney General, and the FBI Director Kash Patel. Then we got a cryptic tweet from Lauren, the Congresswoman. Of course, it's unclear what that means, but nevertheless, what we're told, at least right now, is they have the votes to release this, to pass this legislation, and we're told that as many as 100 additional Republicans could support this. Now, Donald Trump has already sent out a Truth Social post blasting any Republicans who support this bill. But nevertheless, Speaker Johnson is expected to bring this to the floor as early as next week. The outstanding question is, what will Senate Republicans do? Because right now, it doesn't appear as though the votes are there for it to actually pass in the Senate.
Okay, Eric, keep us posted on any developments on that front. Our U.S. political analyst, Eric Ham, for us this morning. Thank you so much.